So here we are again. It's only taken me 3 weeks to try and produce another short YouTube video, but we're really busy leading up to Taranaki Collectibles at the end of November. So hopefully see some of you there. My name's James, this is The Distant Veil. Let me look for that miniature. So today I'm going to take you through how we painted a little EOD technician. So he's a scenario specific character that's been made by Spectre Miniatures in the UK. Stephen and the team there have done an awesome job. There's a new range being released at the moment, so go and check those guys out. The reason that I decided to paint him is actually going back to the Hurt Locker film released ages ago. It's a film about a bomb technician in Afghanistan and Iraq, and it's really, really cool. So I decided to go for that original, like old school green colour rather than some of the new blacks and things that have been released with bomb tech gear in more recent years.
So let's take a look at the model. So this is the EOD Bomb Technician by Spectre Miniatures. It's a resin cast and hopefully should be a pleasure to paint. If you're interested in the paints I've used during this, here's a quick list that you can screen grab. We're going to start with a little bit of German Panzer Grey through the airbrush as a base layer for the primer. Moving on to some Vallejo White to try and cast a little bit of a zenithal highlight. Gonna aim for quite a strong zenithal white on this because the greens are actually quite translucent. So when you see what we've got to here is it's a lot stronger than you'd normally do with a zenithal highlight, but you'll see when it comes through that it's going to really improve the contrast with the greens later on.
Now that we've finished all the highlighting, let's move on and actually paint the miniature.
The next stage is putting a base coat down of US dark green. I'm going to work on top of this. Obviously you can put all of this base coat down with a standard brush instead of using an airbrush, and I'm just going through here and increasing the contrast in certain areas by using US dark green with a very, very small amount of ivory, especially around the helmet where the light's going to be looking down. We're going to continue to block in some of the colours using standard black, so the body armour and some of the details around the arms, legs, as well as moving on to the boots and finally the helmet visor, which we're going to paint over as well. Now that we've gone through and blocked in all the black, we're going to go through with our first highlight colour, which is a mix of that original US dark green with ivory. And we're looking at all of the layers of fabric where the light is looking down on it. So that was one of the aims of the zenithal highlight at the start. But what we're doing now is we're just going through and we're doing at least 70-75% highlight across the majority of the miniature on the front aspect. And that's it really. We're just going to keep going through highlighting all these little bits until we've got a decent 70% highlight. Next we're going to go to the next highlight, so highlighting less than the layer before. This time we've just added more ivory to the mix, so last time say 50-50, this time it's significantly more ivory. Although it doesn't look similar to US dark green now, it does actually blend, especially when you've got the base on later on, so don't worry about having really nice blended highlights. It actually looks quite nice with the chunky, thicker highlights when you go to the actual finished miniature.
If you've got this far, thank you so much, and if you wouldn't mind hitting like and subscribe. We're a really small channel and a really small business, so I mean any support goes a really long way. If you check out our Instagram at The Distant Veil, Blake's already said if we manage to get 100 followers, I've got to buy him some new paintbrushes instead of him eating ours, so that'd be pretty good.
I really like adding a little bit more contrast and like really punching it up, so although at the tabletop this is going to look fine, as soon as you go away you're not going to see the highlights as much, so we're adding even more ivory, which is ridiculous, to just final edge highlights of the bits of fabric, especially across the chest and around the protection on his neck. now we've finished highlighting that US dark green, we're going to go back over with a really thin glaze of that original base colour, just to combine all the highlights and just reduce down some of the brightness. So we've now got a really high contrast, but we still want that original dark green colour. So we're going to essentially colour filter it using the original base colour. On to some of the nice little bits of detail. We'll start with the visor using a neutral grey. We're going to mix this down to highlight, again, smaller and smaller portions, moving towards the upper aspect of the visor. Either mixing it down using white or the ivory that we've used before. Again, this is just creating a highlight as we move through to show where the light's actually catching and reflecting off the visor. If you do this in small incremental steps as you move across, it actually forms a really nice reflective sheen, and you won't notice that much of a difference in terms of the steps. As I alluded to before, really like highlighting black with German grey. German grey is a bluish tinge of black, and it's just a really cool colour to change some of the shifts. So instead of it just all being a green black, you can then actually move to a blue black, and it just adds it again. And you can't finish a model off without a little bit of basing. So we've gone and essentially used the black primer again to go and prime through the rim of the base, adding some BBA, and then we're going to go for an Afghanistan style rubble desert base. So we just got a pre-mixed concoction, shall we say, of different sand basing materials, and we'll add a couple of tufts, and then hopefully the miniature should be pretty much ready to go.
Now we've finished painting, it's time to unveil the miniature. Thank you so much guys for watching, and we will be back with some other stuff in the next couple of weeks. And until then, make sure you remember to feed your studio goblins.